I am up here with my featured co-host, Julie
Hello.
Jesmer.
Ooh, that was loud.
And Julie, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself first and talk a little bit about why we have you up here today. This first chat question with Julie is going to be a little longer than usual. This is what a church would traditionally call a moment of like a testimony or a testimonial about what God is doing in your life. And Julie has something special God is doing in her life. I want to give her a chance to share that with you all.
Let's define the word special.
Special. Well, you're a very special person.
Well, thank you.
Your title there says Food Justice.
Yeah.
Food Systems Advocate is something
Right.
you described. Tell me about, what does that mean?
So it means that I spent a lot of my early career as a social worker, and I was like, this is really important to me. But then I visited Western Kenya, and in that process of that, I was introduced to female subsistence farmers, and one of them handed me a cassava plant and said, "Here, transplant this for us." And when I put my hands in that soil, there was something very spiritual about the idea of, in the middle of this place near the equator, to put my hands in this soil to grow food for the community. And so that changed my career trajectory, and I've changed it many times. And so that's where I started this idea of how can I pursue food justice. And so I went back to get another master's degree in agriculture. And so I just, it was really important. It's kind of a niche thing to have social work and agriculture in the same kind of educational palette.
Yeah. Now, you've told me you're not really, like, gardening and farming is not actually your thing.
I grow people that grow food.
Okay. So you're like a step up. You are working with people who are working with food.
I call myself a community outreach advocate.
Okay.
Community education, community outreach.
Now, you've had a big change happen here recently.
Just a little.
Tell us about that big change.
So I came here to Michigan. I got a job in April of 24 at MSU, funded by the USDA, called the Regional Food Business Center. And I was in charge of building their re-granting program. My goal was to build the program that gave away $6 million to underserved farmers and food producers. And then we struggled with, discovering how we were going to do the payment mechanisms, and just some challenges with the USDA, and then our program was completely cut off in July of this year. So I came to Michigan a year ago. I moved in July 4th of last year, and was so excited about this job, and then it's completely gone. And so I have no job as of next week.
Oh, it's coming up real soon.
Yeah,
Soon.
September 15th is my last day of working.
Now, usually, so I think you grew up in Colorado.
Yep.
You moved around different places. Right before this, you were in Washington State. Yep. You moved here to Lansing. You hadn't ever been in Michigan before that. It seems like the next thing to do would be to go hunting for a job somewhere in a similar field. But you've decided
to it's niche.
Stay here, this niche. Why stay here?
I sat down and I thought, okay, what's the most fiscally responsible thing to do? Because that's not normally in my head, so I had to force myself to think that way. And going back to Colorado or to Washington, the cost of living is higher, and the job prospects in this niche area were not very good. And I thought, wait a minute, what do I have here? And I said, well, I have my community that I've built at Sycamore Creek. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've only been here a year. And I remember one Sunday looking out and going, I know that person and that person and that person by their first names. I thought, well, how could I possibly leave this community in pursuit of what's fiscally responsible? And so it became kind of a, let's pursue community and let's try to find something here. Who knows what that will look like? I I'm in the world of the unknown.
Yeah. It really touches my heart that Sycamore Creek was one of the reasons you wanted to stay here,
Yeah.
rather than just do what usually you do and build something. So some of what, like your sense of commitment to the church and to the community that we're building here, was why I wanted to give you a platform this morning to talk a little more about what you're trying to build or what you're envisioning, and you might even say what God is calling you to in this next season of life, because it's not going to be the job that you had at MSU.
No.
That job is done.
gone.
So tell us about this sense of call, this holy discontent, this hunger and thirst for food justice, food advocacy.
So I'm going to start with, when you sent me the chat questions for this week, was the same day that I lost my friend Faith Odidi. She lived in Western Kenya, and it was just shocking to me. She passed away unexpectedly, and I spent time the next few days thinking about my friend Faith, and she is the person, I met her in the process of community outreach, and she is the person that showed me how to just do the next right thing. And that's what she spent her life doing. I'll never forget, she would teach, together we did this, and she taught me how to do this. She would teach elders, male elders, how to teach children the private parts song and how to avoid sexual trauma by teaching this. And here she is, a single woman, teaching village elders how to talk about sexual trauma with children, and it was just the most fascinating experience for me, and that motivated me so much. And then she was with me when I was handed this cassava plant. So I'm so sad that I no longer have the chance to go back to Kenya and see my friend Faith, but she showed me that just doing the next right thing.
Mm-hmm. So we have a community garden on our back property where volunteers from our church grow food, and they take it to a food bank.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about? Are we just
No.
gonna, you just want to grow our community garden? What are you talking about?
So this is the place where it's a little bit different, because community engagement and community advocacy asks questions that are more situated toward justice. And so when I was doing my agriculture degree, I spent a lot of time exploring the concepts of food access, food security, food sovereignty, and food justice, and just getting those definitions down and understanding that when we go out to the community garden and we grow food and we deliver it to the food bank, that's awesome. That's a great thing to do. But how and in what way does that then advocate for justice in our community? And so my hope and my dream is to somehow use my community education, community outreach skills to be able to build in those concepts of justice. When we plant and donate, what are the justice elements involved in that, and how can we then be more cognizant of that justice piece? And there's nothing wrong with donating or giving away food, but let's think a little bit deeper and begin to expand our thoughts into what is the justice in what I am doing.
I think of it this way. There's direct aid,
Yep.
and our community garden is a direct aid. People are hungry, we give them fresh produce. But the justice question is, why are people hungry in the first place?
Right.
And what systems need to be in place?
And
so
not
they're
only
not.
why are they hungry, but what are the elements in our society that have led to that hunger, and how can we interrupt those? With my education and my experiences, even I am facing the idea of, what if I no longer have an income that cannot support my housing and my food? If me, with the advantages that I have that struggle, and I'm assuming, I'm of the belief that our society will begin to fall apart within the food system structure. What does that look like? How do we as a community address the potential of numbers of people that no longer have food? And if we know to ask the question, why, what are those structural things that lead to this injustice?
Yeah.
And address that instead of just giving people food.
Now, we're only kind of scratching the surface here
Very,
in this
very
co-host time,
scratched.
which is why we've developed this format here at Sycamore Creek called SCCU, Sycamore Creek Church University. After worship, if what Julie's talking to you about or talking about right now is hugging something in your heart or your soul or somewhere deep in, even in your gut, you can
And if
go
you're
down to room number 2, or if you're just curious,
Yep.
go down to room number 2 after the service. You're going to be there. You're going to do a bigger presentation about what all this is. It's called Faith, Food, and Justice is the presentation downstairs, and you get to share your expertise with us. It's like basic, like, right? Like how people
Very
eat.
basic.
Now, we're also today, we have our videographer here to make a video of this as you're talking about it, because it's a resource we wanted to give to you to help get the word out and see if you can coalesce people around it. So that'll be cut out of today's service, just that by itself. And when you see me share that on Facebook or on YouTube, I want to invite you all to share that out with your network so that maybe there's people in your network that Julie needs to connect with. I'm just moved again by your commitment to not go look for a job somewhere else, but to stay here in that calling. And that's becomes part of our calling as a community when people are called to stay in place and build something. So we're going to hear more from you as this message goes on. But join me right now in thanking God for Julie being here this morning.